Morning, Chair, morning, colleagues, and morning to the members of the public. My name is Tembeka Seman.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the NERSA personnel and everyone that has joined us for this meeting today. My name is Nomalanga Sithole. I'm the CEO and a member of the Energy Regulator. Thank you.
Greetings, Chairperson, fellow members of the Energy Regulator, management and staff of NERSA, as well as the members of the public following through the various live streaming platforms. My name is Muzuvuge Wiseman Mkhize. I'm the full-time regulator member. I'm responsible for petrol pipelines regulation. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to the members, and also good morning to the team at large at NERSA. Also, a very good morning to the members of the public. My name is Willie Majola. I'm the full-time regulator for electricity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members, and welcome again to the meeting. We are now on agenda item 3, which is the proposed agenda on regulatory matters. This is before us for approval. ER members, are we comfortable with the agenda as proposed? If you can raise your hand in support of approving the agenda, please do so now. Thank you. Secretariat, you will note those hands raised. I think we have unanimous approval for the agenda. So we can now move on to agenda item number 4, which is declaration of interest on regulatory matters. ER members, I take it you have all filled in your declaration of interest forms in respect of any interests regarding today's agenda. Beyond that, if there is anything verbal you would like to stipulate, please go ahead. If you have any interest to declare. I see hands still raised. I'm taking it those are legacy hands. Okay. Secretariat, please note that there are no interests being declared today.
Chairperson, Ms. Mana's hand is still raised. If you can confirm whether it's a legacy hand.
Please go ahead, Ms.
I guess
Mana.
not.
Yeah.
Apologies, Chair, it was a legacy hand.
Okay.
Noted. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Okay, let us now move on to agenda item 5, report of the chairperson of the Pipe Gas Subcommittee. Over to you, Ms. Maseti, agenda item 5.1. You can read out that title and please go ahead and present it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. The matter that is before the Energy Regulator today is the round-robin submission that was already considered and approved. That submission is an explanatory note on the use of the cost-plus option that is already contained in the methodology to approve maximum prices of gas in South Africa by importers of liquefied natural gas. Essentially, Chairperson, without presenting the entire matter, this explanatory note was the timing of it and the necessity was quite crucial for the stakeholders, particularly given the IPP office process. They wanted to understand if the energy regulator would allow the flexibility of using the cost plus option for those that are importing LNG into the country. It was also well received after NERSA has published this explanatory note. It is here for noting, Chairperson. I just wanted to indicate that, as well as the feedback that has been received from the industry experts after NERSA has taken this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maseti. ER members, do we have any questions, comments for Ms. Maseti in respect of this item? Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so then we can go ahead and please note that this explanatory note on the use of the cost plus option contained in the methodology for approval maximum prices of gas in South Africa by LNG importers has been approved by a round robin resolution. And we confirm that it has been, and we note that. Please raise your hands in support of that for noting purposes. Thank you very much, members. Secretariat, you will note the hands raised. Thank you, colleagues. We can now move on to agenda item 6, which is report of the chairperson of the electricity subcommittee. I'll hand over to you, Mr. Majola, to take us through item 6.1, and you can read that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We are on item 6.1, and it's in connection with Eskom's request for the temporary amendment to Trans-Alloy's manganese smelter operations in Mpumalanga. And by way of background, Chair, in March 2025, the regulator approved Eskom's NPA, Eskom's 6-year NPA for Trans-Alloy. That was now in March 2025. And however, the smelter is basically still operating at very low margins. They are not competitive compared to the fittest of the producers. They've got a whole lot of legacy of unsold stock. So in November 2025, when they cited all of these financial hardships, despite the NPA, then they have now, subsequent to that, as I've said, they've suspended some three of their furnaces. So on the 4th of March 2026, NERSA received a letter from Eskom requesting approval of a 6-month waiver for Trans-Alloy, which is really intended to mitigate projected job losses, also to prevent penalties for reduced consumptions, and also to protect Eskom sales volumes. And they need this in order to enable certain smelters to resume operations and avoid the permanent closures. Chair, this matter has obviously gone through the public participation processes. There was also public participation, so meetings that were held. And I'm not going to go through every submission that went through. I think you can see it in the papers. But I must point out that one of the people who presented at the public participation meeting, it was Meridian Economics, raised a certain issue where they were concerned that some of the information submitted for the public participation based on the submissions from the smelters, that it was actually redacted, meaning that some of the information was actually not provided. Of course, in terms of the recent judgment by the Supreme Court of Appeal, we have checked with our legal department whether the public participation information that was provided is actually in line with the court judgment, and the feedback from our legal department was that it is still in line with the SCA judgment. So there were also further deliberations then at the subcommittee ELS, and there were quite a few comments that came, or questions that came from the members, of which the members have of which now management has responded, and you will see that is all contained under section 5 of the deliberations. And I'm actually not going to go through all of them, but you can see it's all of the response. So really, in terms of the recommendation, the ELS had recommended that the energy regulator must approve Eskom's request for a temporary amendment to TransAlloy's manganese ferroalloys metal operations in Mpumalanga. NPA TOP terms be approved for a period of 6 months. And then furthermore, this amendment is as follows: a relaxation of take or pay requirements of 70% for 6 months from July 1, 2026. Lastly, Eskom must submit progress reports on the implementation of the waiver of the requirements, top requirements, after the effective date, and thereafter every 3 months until the end of the relaxation period. This is to allow NERSA to monitor the implementation of the waiver of the TOP requirements. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majola. ER members, any questions or comments to Mr. Majola and the team? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Faye, Mr. Majola has read out the recommendations. I don't think there's a need to reread them. I think we can move straight to voting, members. If we are in support of the recommendations as read out by Mr. Majola, please go ahead and let's raise our hands. Thank you very much. Secretariat, you will note the hands raised. I think we have a majority in support of this recommendation as read out. Thank you, colleagues. Mr. Majola, we can now move on to agenda item 6.2. Proposed amendments to Eskom's negotiated pricing agreement with Samanco Chrome and Glencore Marat Chrome Venture for ferrochrome smelters. Yes, somebody was talking.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the purpose of this presentation is to request the energy regulator to approve Eskom's request for a temporary amendment to Eskom's negotiated pricing agreements with Samanco and Glencore Merafi Chrome Ventures. Again, by way of background, Chair, in October 2023, NERSA approved the 6-year NPA for Samanco and Glencore. These arrangements came into effect on the 1st of January 2024. But subsequent to that, what has happened is that the smelters again have approached Eskom requesting more relief, because once again they are still facing issues of being not competitive, and that the current tariff levels does not offer sufficient economic incentives to sustain their full operations. So then Eskom did submit to NERSA an application, and the application has actually gone through now. It's gone to the subcommittee, ELS subcommittee, and once again at the subcommittee there were deliberations, and those deliberations are tabulated in section 5. It shows the comments or questions that were asked by the members. It also shows the response that was provided by management. And as I've said, we did have a public participation meeting, and because it was for both the TransAlloy and for Glencore Samanco, which I reported on in the previous presentation. So By way of recommendation, then, it is recommended that the energy regulator approves Eskom's request for an amendment to the negotiated pricing agreement with Samanco Chrome Limited be approved for a period of 5 years with effect from 1 June 2026. Eskom's request for an amendment to the negotiated pricing agreement with Glencore Mirafli Chrome Ventures be approved for a period of 3 years with effect from 1 June 2026. Eskom must submit progress reports every 6 months on the implementation of the amendments to these negotiated pricing agreements. These reports will enable NERSA to monitor the implementation, effectiveness, and the socio-economic impact of the agreement. Eskom will charge an electricity tariff of 62 cents per kilowatt hour. The proposed tariff rate will be escalated annually on 1 April by the South African PPI plus for the duration of the agreement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majola. ER members, any questions, comments for Mr. Majola and his team? Please go ahead, Mr. Sibanda, and then followed by Ms. Masetti. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I think the issue of meridian economics arises again in this application. But the way that we are responding to the issue, perhaps we just need to tone down on the language, because I mean, it's not necessary for us to say that it's not our job to give researchers what they're looking for or their expectations. I think what Meridian Economics was saying is that there's certain pricing and other information that was not made available for them to make a meaningful assessment of the application. So if we're citing confidentiality as a reason, let's do that and stop at that, instead of going further to use language that probably is not appropriate. But also, if we are citing confidentiality, we just need to make sure that indeed what we did not provide satisfies the confidentiality test, and that there was the applicants actually applied for confidentiality for that information. The second thing for me, Chair, is the term. I think we raised this yesterday, but I'm not too sure. I probably missed what we are saying around the term itself. I know Mr. Majola said that we are approving for the duration of the current agreement. I think I just need confirmation, but also probably an indication of how we analyze that and the reason that we're giving to limit the term to the current agreement. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Over to you, Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, from my side, as much as I'm a member of the ELS and I participated in our own briefing on the issues that we need to include here. One issue that I would like to touch on, which relates to the question that Mr. Sibanda, or the comment that Mr. Sibanda made, which is the cost to supply these specific customers. That information is it is crucial to the extent of understanding the extent of the discount. You will note here that the discount is only looked at on the basis of the mega flex. Nothing is said about the cost to supply this customer, which is quite critical. It is critical also to ascertain whether this customer, with the new price of 62 cents per kilowatt, whether that results in the cost or the price that is below cost. That we don't know. It is not here. So it is something that is quite crucial in any economic reasoning of the economic regulatory aspect, which is the tariff itself. That assessment is not here, and we've already stated that it be included here. And it is also important for other stakeholders. Yes, it can be indicated if then there's an aspect of it that is confidential, but other customers wanted to know so that then they have an understanding of the impact in terms of the revenue shortfall that Eskom will suffer. Because remember, that revenue shortfall is the one that customers are concerned that if then there's going to be cross-subsidization, it will affect other customers because that revenue might have to be recovered from other customers. So they do have the right. And that's the essence of the question posed by the stakeholders, particularly the one mentioned earlier on by Mr. Majola, which only arises in this matter, not in the other matter of the trans alloys. It was in this matter in the hearing. So that is the first thing, Chairperson, that is not here, that is missing. It was stated that it must be included, but it is not included. And then the second thing, Chairperson, that we said that must be shown is the impact. Again, this is the impact that stakeholders say. We have the right to know what is going to happen, who is going to plug in that shortfall, and what is going to be the impact. Again, it is the essence of the question from stakeholders, but apart from that, it is a given analysis that any regulator elsewhere in the world, from a rationality point of view, that kind of impact assessment ought to be done. Then the third point, Chairperson, that is not here is the issue of ring fencing, which again is an issue that we raised when we deliberated. What is it that we're going to do from our side, given the fact that we don't know where and how the revenue shortfall is going to be dealt with. And from our side, the issue of the ring fencing becomes critical. And again, that aspect has not been addressed or even emphasized how the energy regulator will deal with that. For me, those are the three critical points that I believe our assessment needs to deal with. And they were raised, by the way, Chairperson, when we discussed as the members of the subcommittee, that those things be included and be dealt with for a thorough assessment so that we know how we from our side dealt or came to that 62 cent, or at least show that this is where we started with the price to this customer, then it came down to 62 cent. What does it mean? What does it cover? Does it cover the marginal cost as well as part of the fixed cost? To what extent does it cover part of the fixed cost and all of that? So that is the critical economic reasoning and analysis that must be part of this. Thank you, Chairperson. Those are the things that I feel they were left out, irrespective of the guidance that was provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. Before I hand over to Mr. Majola to respond, I just want to add on to this comments made by Meridian Economics. So they, aside from the confidentiality of information, they were, the way I understood their comments, they were seeking some kind of confirmation from NERSA that NERSA had considered all of these crucial data. For example, data relating to cost of supply. All of the crucial data that NERSA had, in fact, had access to this data and information and had properly assessed this application and was satisfied with the 62 cents. So this is something that we also raised yesterday, but I'm not sure we got a confirmation from the team around this. That is NERSA, can NERSA back up that we are comfortable that we have independently assessed this application because we had access to the critical information that we needed and data, and we satisfied that we can go ahead and approve the 62 cents. So, Mr. Majola, when you respond to each of these comments raised by the members, please ensure that all these aspects are covered. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, the point from Mr. Sibanda, the first point of Mr. Sibanda, in terms of the language, toning down the language, I think that's a very good point for enhancement, and I think we'll make sure that is actually toned down when we issue the final RFT. Then for the other points raised, I'm going to ask Mr. Matebula and the team to come in here. So we'll start now with the second point from Mr. Sibanda, which was about the term of the agreement. So may I ask Mr. Matebula and the team to respond there?
Chair, good morning and good morning to the members. Yeah, Chair, I think as per our submission yesterday at the ELS, we had indicated that we would like to have this agreement limited to the current approved NPA term, Chair, to obviously allow the assessment of the performance within this time period, and the need to have this to go beyond the current NPA that has been approved by the regulator. We obviously do not want to use this current application to also now extend the term of the NPA. So hence our submission was to have this confined within the current term of the NPA. Chair, in terms of the other questions, I see Mr. Geldert already has a hand up. We had attempted to deal with it and provided an addendum, but I think Mr. Geldert can talk to it, and if it needs to be expanded, we can do that work as well. Mr. Geldert.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to the members and to the colleagues and the members of the public. Mr. Sethi, we did give an addendum to the ELS. I thought it would have been in the pack for the ER as well. We did do the assessment, and the net result is if this is not approved, and the standard tariff customer will then have to pay an extra 3.8 cents per kilowatt hour should this load go away, and if this tariff is approved as it is, then that won't apply. I don't want to go into all the other figures, but the other figures are in the addendum. Then secondly, I'd just like to point out that the recommendation 6.1 says that the agreement with Samancor Chrome Limited be approved for a period of 5 years with effect from the 1st of June 2026, which implies that the agreement will remain because it is a full package in terms of the risk and in terms of the agreements. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Geldard. You said recommendation 6.1. You meant agenda item 6.1.
No, I mean the item 6.1 on the 2-pager.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I didn't hear a response to the revenue shortfall issue that Ms. Masetti raised on the side of Eskom. And how, what is our view on that?
Chair, the revenue shortfall will be ring-fenced, and the revenue shortfall will be partly made up with the profit sharing, if there's any profit sharing, but it will be excluded from any RCA. That revenue shortfall will be ring-fenced and excluded from any RCA application that Eskom will make. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any follow-up questions from that explanation provided by the team?
Yeah, sorry, before that, may I ask the team as well to respond to the issue of Meridian economics? I think either from the team or from the legal people in connection with the questions from Meridian economics. Mr. Matebula or yes.
Yeah, Chair. I think we engaged last on the matter, and actually they last provided a write-up which indicated that the regulator consultation process was still within the requirements of the law. So I think what needs to happen, Chair, is just that we need to obviously respond properly, as Mr. Sibanda has indicated, not without responding in using a proper language. But last had given us a write-up confirming that our consultation process and the information that we had put out to the public was within the requirements of the law. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Majola. Did you want to say something else on that specific issue?
No, thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then we can move to Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to Charles for the response. I think, Charles, I do get the aspect of losing the industrial load. That aspect I understand, but I think what is important is to have a complete assessment so that we don't only just overemphasize the what if we lose this load. The analysis must be an analysis that also considers the protection of the captive customers. That is important. So it becomes inadequate when we don't put that side, because you can argue the adverse effect or impact both ways. You will argue it from the perspective of losing the industrial load. You can also argue it from the perspective of the shortfall of the revenue, and what then happens. Must customers now carry that revenue? So it's actually both ways. So it's important that in our RFDs, as you say, that there is an addendum. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to that addendum except to read the RFDs, which I am not seeing that information in the actual RFDs. So it's important that we then deal with, here is the impact on customers if they were to be required to pay this shortfall, and therefore they are not going to pay the shortfall. This is going to be ring-fenced, and somebody else will come in and pay that revenue shortfall for Eskom. So I think that for me is quite important, and it also addresses actually the question asked by Meridian Economics, because then once you deal with that aspect of the impact, you actually now show that the concern around how other customers are going to be affected, which then becomes an issue for other stakeholders, that then is taken care of with that kind of explanation, so that there is no worry with regards to that aspect. And then the last thing is to enhance just the issue of just a 62 cent. What does it mean in terms of the cost to supply this customer, now getting to 62 cents? With that, Chairperson, I am fine from my side, but it is what we have already guided. It just needed to be put into the RFDs for completeness and for a coherent reasoning of what is the effect, what is the benefit, and why the need for this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Massetti. Mr. Majola, any final comments from you and the team? Or can we move towards taking a vote as you've read out the recommendations?
No, thank you. No further comments other than to say yes, all the points of enhancements will be included in the final RFD. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Majola. Faye, I'm not going to reread the recommendations that Mr. Majola has comprehensively read, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4 in respect of this item. Colleagues, can we please raise our hands? Go ahead, Faye, go ahead.
Chair, I'd just like to put on record that the addendum is part of the pack. Mr. Gelder was not sure whether it was there. I just wanted to place on record that it is part of the pack. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that confirmation, Faye. So colleagues, can we then now move towards voting?
Chairperson?
Yes.
Since I couldn't get to the reading of the agenda, I'm not saying just for my purpose, but just to make sure that in the decisions that we're about to make, that issue of the ring fencing is part of the decision, and the monitoring reports in respect of that. I think for me, those two things are quite critical as part of the decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Massetti. Mr. Mkhize, I saw you had your hand raised. I'm not sure if you were...
I was voting. I said that during the meeting, the issue of ring fencing was also raised, ELS, and then they just need to enhance it in terms of articulation, because it is also there in the paragraph 5.17. I was raising my hand to vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, colleagues, can we then take a vote on those recommendations, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4, and then add a further recommendation, 6.5. I'm not sure how to formulate this recommendation, but this is relating to the ring fencing and monitoring that NERSA will undertake in respect of this particular NPA. Who's going to help us with formulating that recommendation, Mr. Majola?
Chair, yes, I would say, I would suggest that then we add an additional recommendation that is going to say that furthermore, we need to do the ring fencing of this course so that it is going to be enable us to have a complete assessment of all the factors involved. I'll leave it like that, Chair.
Okay, colleagues, can we now take a vote on this item? Please raise your hands in support of the recommendations 6.1 to 6.5. Thank you very much. Secretariat, you will note the raised hands. Very good. Let us now move on to agenda item 6.3, which is the National Transmission Company of South Africa, market operator license conditions and reasons for decision. Over to you, Mr. Majola.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, by way of background, going straight to the point, being that on the 27th of November 2025, the energy regulator approved the issuance of a market operator license to the National Transmission Company of South Africa. However, the approval of the license conditions was deferred to ensure that the applicant's feedback was incorporated and that further regulatory enhancements were made. So basically what has happened then, ever since then, a lot of work has happened, which has actually culminated into a draft license, which is now in Annex B. Annex B is the draft license. I'm calling it draft because it still needs to be approved by the regulator. So it was obviously a lot of inputs and coordination with Eskom. They also provided feedback as well. So then on the 27th of May, the electricity subcommittee members considered this operator license condition and the reasons for decision. And there were quite a few deliberations again at the ELES, where members asked some comments and suggestions, and then the feedback from the team is also recorded in Section 5. So with all of that, Chair, by way of recommendation, it is therefore recommended that the energy regulator approves the National Transmission Company South Africa, the market operator license conditions, thereto attached as Annex B, and approve the decision and reasons for the decision document Annex A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Majola. Colleagues, ER members, do we have any questions, comments for the team? I don't see any hands raised. I think we can now proceed to vote on this agenda item as read out by Mr. Majola. Please raise your hand in support of this recommendation. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. Secretariat, you will note the hands raised. Thank you. Let me lower my hands. And we are now at item 6.4, analysis report on Eskom January 25 to December 25 electricity production data. Over to you, Mr. Majola. This is before us for noting.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, this matter is for noting, whereby the purpose is really to make NERSA aware the analysis report of the power production data for the period January 2025 to December 2025. So what happens here is we actually looking at the production data from all power stations, and really not many surprises there. You will see, for instance, when you talk about the coal stations, you will see there that the newer power stations, Medupi and Gusile, are the leaders in terms of the amount of power they've produced during the year, the previous year. And then you will see that some of the older stations like Grootvlei, obviously running with even fewer units, and each of those units are themselves smaller units in size. They are the ones that are towards the end of the pack. And Quebec also done well as well, especially when they brought back online both of the units now being online after that refurbishment that they were going on. So on that note, therefore, Chair, we can go to the recommendations in 14.1, whereby it is recommended that the electricity subcommittee notes. So this actually just for noting. So the electricity subcommittee has already noted, and they've asked us now to come and obviously present it to the regulator. So thank you, Chair. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Majola. ER members, do we have any questions on this agenda item? Please go ahead, Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would like to just thank the team for this information. What I would may perhaps ask, which is quite important when we get this kind of information, is what next? How do we use this information? How this information is going to assist us? So really for me is the implications of this information in the way that we are going to take the regulatory decisions. One of them being around the issue of the performance of these power stations. How do we take that into consideration when we make a determination on the revenue that is required by Eskom to start off with? And then secondly, the other question is, at the time when SAWEM becomes operational, when one looks at the cost of each power station, how this is going to assist during that time in terms of the performance as well as the average production cost of each power station, how this is going to assist us. And thirdly, when we now deal with the issues of the vesting contracts, how again this kind of information is going to assist us. For me, it is on those three grounds that I would like just to be clarified in terms of the implications of the picture that we see here, the data that has been presented before us, the usefulness of that data, and now us taking decisions pertaining at least to those three areas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. Ms. Sabia?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the team for this very useful report. Chair, let me add to what Ms. Masetti has just said, because for us, this needs to be an important report, because it also is part of the story about the issue of electricity, which is out there in the public, because when the approval of the tariff happens, then these discussions start. I think it's then an opportunity for us to then get to a point of engaging on this issue before we deal with the tariff, because I'm looking at when you look at figure 1, which is on page 17 of 27 of this report, it's telling a story of the energy generated in gigawatt hours. When you compare 2021 and 2025, if you look at that, maybe part of it can be use of solar, but for me, that picture tells you a story because of the decline that is actually happening. Yes, partly a small component might be people using solar. Again, it means now the mix is shifting from coal to the other energy. Then that is the issue, because the other is more expensive, obviously, except for hydro, which is slightly lower or comparative to coal. So with that comes the increase in the price. So I think that is also important for the team to actually come up with a story following this study, so that and then we talk to the public during this time, so that come the time of the tariff, they can be an understanding where the issues are, and even look at the performance of the stations that makes the energy generated drop that low. Yes, we have 2 new stations, but they are not operating as what was expected. And I think Dupi, if I saw correctly, is comparable to Majuba, although Majuba is slightly on the newer side. But there needs to be more from those new stations, and also there needs to be more work on renewables, because this picture tells me that we are going to see an increase in electricity prices going forward, which is an issue out there because we have reached a point of it being unaffordable, and it's now a topical issue across the country. But thank you very much for this information, and thank you, Chair, and apologies for taking too long. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Sibia. No need to apologize for taking long at all. These are all very important questions for the team. So before we ask you to respond, Mr. Majola, I would just add my comment as well. So when I looked at this report, I think it would be useful also going forward when the team presents such reports to include in the cover submission what were some of your in a summary form, to include, what are the key findings from this data that we've assessed for the period 2025? What are the key trends we're picking up? What are the key takeaways for this production data? So I found that missing in the cover submission, and I found that missing in the report as well. Just kind of a snapshot. And I think both Ms. Masetti and Ms. Sibia covered it, but you need to give us the summary within the context of our mandate as NERSA. Why is this report important for us from a regulatory point of view? What do we have to keep in mind in respect of our mandate, insofar as tariff calculations go, insofar as Eskom's plant efficiency and utility performance go, insofar as ensuring security of supply? So all of these important factors. So if we could get that snapshot in the cover submission and in the in the longer report, that would really help us and sort of focus us on why is this information being presented and how does it impact us as the regulator. Let's take Mr. Mkhize and then we'll give the team a chance to respond. Please go ahead.
Thanks. From my side, just a comment on the need for ICT to also draw closer to the team, noting that in the transition to the creation of an electricity market, you have lots of information that you have to deal with and proper and befitting technology to be able to access that information, collate, and help with analysis, the presentation thereof in the form of an MIS will also be very helpful. So let's not find a situation where we do a lot of these things, but the technological part is still lagging behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Majola, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, indeed, from our side in the response, I think the issues raised by the members are well noted for enhancements. So starting with the report itself, saying that we do need not just to take the report as it is, but over and above what Eskom has written down, we need to take out the key salient points, and also having taken out the key salient points, also to make sure, therefore, that we give direction to what are the implications of all of this. So that is the one part which I'm hearing in terms of the how we package the report further, but also as well what we are hearing, very good points of announcements, is that the report itself it must not just end now after the presentation to the governance committees, but also it must be used. For instance, when we are looking at issues like the wholesale market, how will it affect the performances? So that's what we're hearing. And then the last point from Mr. Mkize, whereby the issues of ICT as well must be taken into consideration. So thank you, Chair. All of those points of announcements will be taken into consideration in future.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Majola. Colleagues, are there any final questions, comments? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So can we then, by show of hand, note this analysis report as presented by Mr. Majola and read out? Thank you very much, colleagues. I see our hands raised. Secretariat, you will note the raised hands. Thank you very much. I think this brings us to the end of the open part of our meeting. Faye, can you please confirm that?
Yes, it does, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much to members of the public for joining us at today's open session of the meeting. We will now be ending the live